Ruben Saltzman here with Structure Tech Home Inspections doing part 3 of fall maintenance for Minnesota homeowners. Okay, so in part 1 I discussed water, winterizing your outside faucets and all that. In part 2 I talked about air and the roof, and for part 3 here I'm going to talk about AC, heating, and smoke alarms. So for your air conditioner, if you live in a cold climate, there's really nothing that you need to do. I know that there's these covers that are sold at the store that cover the whole thing up, and you wrap it underneath and people get tarps and all that jazz. Air conditioners are designed to be installed outside. It's okay. The snow won't hurt them. The cold air won't hurt them. You don't need to do anything. If you don't want leaves falling in through the top of your air conditioner, you could get a piece of plywood and set it on top of the AC unit. Maybe even put a big rock on top of that so wind doesn't blow it away. But that's all I'd recommend. That's it. And then if you have a heat pump, now those aren't common here in Minnesota. I'll see like one heat pump a year. But if you have a heat pump, don't even do that. Just leave it wide open because it will operate during cold weather, and it does the opposite of an air conditioner. Let's see, what else do we have here? I've got the furnace or boiler. It is a good idea to have your furnace or boiler tuned up by a professional heating contractor annually. No joke. I wrote a blog post detailing all the reasons for this. I do recommend annual tune-ups by a professional. Another thing to do with your furnace or AC is to replace the batteries in your thermostat. If you have batteries that go dead while you're gone on vacation or something like that, your furnace or boiler may not turn on and you could come home to a winter wonderland. So it's a good idea to replace the batteries in your thermostat annually. Finally, while you're on the topic of furnace maintenance, replace your furnace filter. Now, I know that you already do this every month or every 3 months, depending on what type of filter you buy, but we're talking about fall maintenance. Just do it now. Take care of it. Finally, smoke and CO alarms. Number 1, make sure that you have them. Make sure that they're installed where they should be. The current standard for safety is to have a smoke alarm installed on every level of the home in a common area and a smoke alarm in every sleeping room. That's the current standard for safety. If you don't have it, do it. You don't need to do hardwired smoke alarms. You can buy battery operated smoke alarms. That's just fine. And they're a piece of cake to install. So make sure you have them. Check the ones in your home and make sure that they're not expired. Smoke alarms are good for 10 years. That's it. If it's more than 10 years old, replace it. If it's yellow, it's surely more than 10 years old. Replace it. If you have a CO alarm, those used to always be good for 5 years or 7 years depending on the manufacturer. Now the manufacturers are saying they're good for 10 years because I guess, well, I won't get into it, but manufacturers are generally saying they're good for 10 years now. If it's more than 10, replace it. If you know that you've exceeded your manufacturer's warranty, replace it. Check the date on these things. Now, this is a common sense one. Test them. Press the test button, make sure they actually operate, and replace the batteries if you think you need to. Now, if you've got one of those sealed lithium-ion 10-year batteries, well, that's just not an option. But if they take batteries, replace them. And then my final piece of advice when it comes to smoke alarms is make sure that you have photoelectric smoke alarms installed. There is a huge difference between ionization and photoelectric smoke alarms. There's good and there's bad to both, kind of, but photoelectric smoke alarms are so superior to ionization alarms in just about every metric that you can check. I recommend photoelectric every time. So if you don't have photoelectric smoke alarms in your home, put them in. If you don't know which type you have, you don't have photoelectric smoke alarms. They cost about $5 more on average, and I have yet to see a single new construction home where the builder put in photoelectric smoke alarms. They all use ionization. So check your smoke alarms. All you have to do is, well, check my blog. I've got more info about how to decide which type of, or how to figure out which type of smoke alarm you have. Okay, that concludes part 3 of fall maintenance for Minnesota homeowners. Thank you so much for watching.